I'm excited to welcome Sway GT. And for those who aren't familiar with Sway's work, she is a visionary founder of Sway to Success, a dynamic platform crafted for the creative and multi-passionate. As your business alignment and strategy guide, where she decodes your energetics into a signature strategy to activate your financial flow. This is rooted in her philosophy that making impact and financial abundance go hand in hand. It gets to be in alignment to our unique selves and our multidimensional lifestyles. I love that. So today we're diving into signature wealth codes. So I welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I am so excited to just flow with you. It already sounds like an exciting space that you've created.
Perfect. Thank you so much. To begin with, I would love for you to share an aha moment or experience from your life that made you realize that you were out of alignment and then how you got started in this magical work.
Oh, that is such a loaded question. And I get asked this a lot. And I would say like there were so many moments that I felt out of alignment and then realigned because that's how I feel life usually flows.
Mm.
But let's just go to the biggest pivotal moment in my life. I was 10. I was in a classroom filled with amazing, amazing peers of mine. And the teacher was asking everyone, what do you want to be when you grow up? That
Mm.
was $1 million question. And for someone like me who had so many different flows, states of flows as a young kid, I was very like, oh, what does this question even mean? And being my name starts with S. So it was the list was being in order of our name, like the alphabet. So I was pretty much at the end of the line. So it gave me a lot of time to just sit and watch my peers go ahead and share their what do I want to be? And so as I listened, what I recognized was every single one had an identity that they were looking forward to becoming. I want to be a teacher.
Mm.
I want to be a painter. I want to be an engineer. And I'm just there and I'm like, okay, my answer is not going to sound like that. I hope everyone's able to swallow what I have to say. And then it comes my turn, and my teacher's like, okay, so Sway, share with the class, what do you want to be?
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I have a list. I want to be this. 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 And oh God, I think I took up the most space. But I have to tell you, I felt the most confident because in that moment, I already felt the energy of the room shift.
I love
I no
that.
longer felt that I was in a room that was laughing with me. I felt like I was in a room that was laughing at me.
Oh,
And
wow.
that was a big recognition. Like, as a 10-year-old sitting there and sharing with the class that I want to be so much because I believe life has given me and will continue to give me opportunities that will allow me to just play into my potential, however that looks like. I felt that, oh, wow, like this could be a moment that I hide my light,
Mm.
go into the conditioning, continue sharing the narrative that I am in this environment of. But something clicked in me, and I could hear this whisper saying, if this is how we feel, we cannot be wrong. And I took that and I ran with it. And I said, yeah, this is me. This is how I want to be. That led me to being in a band as a singer songwriter. That
I
led me
love
to
it.
writing my first book at 14. That led me to becoming a psychologist. That led me to becoming a somatic integration specialist. That led me to becoming a brand specialist, a business specialist. That led me to becoming so many different things. And I'm so grateful that 10-year-old me was like, yep, we are not meant for boxes. We are not meant for barriers. What are even ceilings? What does sky is the limit even mean? And I think that was the biggest moment. And I kind of look back to that till now because that was the biggest moment of I could have not chosen to realign to what
Mm.
that voice in me said. So yeah,
Mhm.
that's kind of what led me to following the whispers of potential. So yeah.
I love that. I love that you were courageous enough to like have the list. You're multi-passionate from an early age, and then to really stand up and claim that. I think that that is just it's super courageous. I think on my list, because we had to go through an exercise like that. I think really I had the things that I didn't want to be, like in my pessimistic self. And from my religious upbringing, I knew that I didn't want to be a stay-at-home mom. That's all I knew. I didn't really know what it was that I was going to do, but I knew that that was not in the cards for me.
Oh, I feel that. I grew up. I mean, I went to school in a Catholic boarding school. So we had a very like, this is how life should pan out to be by the word of God. And I love God. I love everything that the universe has to offer. But no,
Amen.
I think God and just universe in general pushes us to follow our potential, however that turns out to be.
I agree. So we're going to get into the signature wealth codes in just a moment, but I want to first talk to you about like financial terms that get tossed around, like financial abundance, financial freedom, abundance. They get used interchangeably. Also sovereign.
Yeah.
I also talk about sovereignty a lot. So I'll just throw that in there. But there is such a nuanced difference between the two that impacts our approach to wealth. So I'm interested in unpacking these concepts with you. So would you break down the differences between financial freedom and financial abundance, and then how understanding this difference can influence our strategies and our mindset?
Oh, I love this. Okay, so financial freedom and financial abundance, the etymology in both of them have a very distinct feel. When we first receive freedom and abundance as just two separate words, that brings up a lot.
Mhm.
Freedom means you're actually trying to get out of a loop. And so when we talk about financial freedom, it's almost like we're in this loop of liberation and then being in the flow of freedom. Oftentimes, when people talk about financial freedom, it's almost like they want to be free of the finances.
Mm.
That is what financial freedom really brings. So I see a lot of manifestation work and a lot of like how to manifest wealth, how to be in the frequency of wealth. When you start using terms like being free of something, that automatically creates a resistance
Yeah.
towards what you want, towards what we truly desire. And that fuels our child brain that, has lived through so much conditioning and picks up so many different narratives that are not our own. And we kind of boil into the space of, oh, so having finances in our life that's at a state of flow must be wrong, must be icky, must be XYZ. Whereas financial abundance talks about a state where you are not just in flow with finances, but that flow of finances brings abundance in all other aspects of your life.
Mhm.
And that etymology is important because then when we're talking about wealth, it feels safe. It feels like that grounded elevation space where you are tethered to what you truly believe in, your why, your desires, but at the same time, you're not afraid to elevate. You're not afraid to keep expanding and honoring your evolution. So I feel in my philosophy, when we talk about wealth, when we talk about cultivating financial security, stability, and expansion, staying away from the word financial freedom is really important, and redirecting our attention to financial abundance is really important. And why does that matter is because wealth is very different to just getting money.
Mhm.
Two very different frequencies. Wealth is cultivated from many, many different aspects of our life. And while one of the main currents is finances,
Mhm.
when we just specifically focus on the money aspect, it takes away that desire to actually play with money. It becomes more of a push, pull, push, pull. So to stay away from that narrative and that space and that frequency, that's where I specifically like focusing on financial abundance. So yeah.
Love that. All right. So you teased a little bit. So let's talk about the wealth codes, right? I know that you exclusively talk about this. I'm super fascinated by this concept that each of us have our own unique wealth codes. I think that is amazing. And then that gets to be the secret formula for unlocking our individual prosperity. And I think you had mentioned, I was like looking on your website and listening to a couple of things that you talked about, but it goes obviously beyond this one-sized approach, and it taps
Yeah.
into this personal and potentially transformative. It's a paradigm shift, really, and I love
Yeah.
this. So I would love for you to explain to the listeners what signature wealth codes are and how identifying them can change their approach and our approach to achieving financial success, financial abundance.
Yes. Oh, I love signature wealth codes. Okay, so to break it down, signature wealth codes, let's break down the etymology. Signature means true to our own genetics, our own makeup, our own design. Wealth codes are codes that are related to wealth, our finances, our prosperity, our abundance. When we look at the signature wealth codes, we specifically talk about how we are invited, not meant to, not should, not must, how we're invited in this human capacity through our own bodies, minds, and souls to actually call in that abundance and keep that abundance and flow with that abundance. Now, the wealth codes specifically show up in many different areas of our life, but there are many tools that people use to decode this. Human design is one, gene keys are one, Vedic astrology is one. There are so many different ways to actually decode what our wealth codes are. But specifically, if I had to share in a short summary of what these wealth codes really mean for us, our signature wealth codes allow us to be creative expressions and continuously tap into that creative portal. So here I want to introduce the philosophy of being a creation and being a creator. As a creation, which is our human body, our capacity, we are aware of our capacity. We are aware of how much we can create, but we're never really tapped into the potential of how that creation can become independent. So there, I kind of bring this flavor of looking at business as art, the art of business, the art of creating wealth, art of bringing in that financial abundance. When we tap into this philosophy of looking at something as art, we ourselves understand that whatever we create has its own independence. We kind of have this parent-child dynamic with it. So as a visionary myself, I have 6 different businesses, and within these 6 different businesses, they're all my creative expressions. But they're also my very, very integrated forms of how I personally leverage my wealth codes to create this expression that goes on to impact and bring me that state of financial abundance, right? So here specifically, when you focus on this parent-child dynamic, you understand that your creation, that is that charging magnet that pulls in and kind of keeps this playground for you to continuously play with money and all sorts of prosperity and wealth stuff, that becomes an integral part of understanding that independence. When we understand our signature wealth codes, what they are, how they're meant to be. So here's a little example. I'm someone who does multiple different things. I can never ever sit and just have one expression. But there are many people who look at their multi-potentiality through one interest, but with multiple different variances. That's their codes. Then there's someone who is able to bring all of their different flavors through one golden theme. That's their codes. So everyone's codes in terms of wealth are very different and very unique to them. It's very intimate. That's where the philosophy of intimate success comes into play, because being able to create impact through our sacred expression becomes a point of consistent honoring of our evolution that leads to us constantly being in the spaces of expanding through our alignment. So signature wealth code specifically focuses on how can we make money, feel happy, continuously be sustainable, and still feel good in multiple different areas of our life without having to succumb or fit into cookie cutter approaches of, oh, this is how you go about this, or this is how you go about that. And everything is within our energetics. So in a nutshell, that's that.
So uncovering is magic, leveraging is magic. What would you say? I mean, I think that, what is it? Comparison and doubt is the dream killer. And I think that in a society where we see all of these success stories of, like, hey, I made this much in my business. Hey, we just manifested this. Hey, I won the lottery. We have a tendency to think that if it doesn't come in a specific way, or you're tied to it in a specific way. So you say you have 6 streams of revenue, you're not focused on just, it has to come in this way. You're open to all of the abundance that is around you, just waiting to be called in. What kind of advice would you give for somebody that really is only narrowly, like, the spotlight is just on one area and they're not really expanding so that really they can have that influx of wealth, money, prosperity, health come in?
Yeah, I think we're so conditioned to look at life, business, wealth cultivation from one lens, which kind of takes us away from our very nature, which is we as humans are very opportunistic people. We're opportunistic beings. We find innovation in literally everything. So that in itself goes back to the core of our creativity. I feel very, very often people who are very focused and have a narrow perspective into one dimension forget that we are never really meant to be in that. So that brings us to the question of how aligned are you really? Is this alignment to you? And if you could break away from all the narratives that are stopping you and everything that's kind of keeping you in this one lane, how would you design that lane? Right. So it's not much about me saying my advice wouldn't be, oh, this is wrong or this is right.
Right.
It's more about dive a little bit deeper into asking yourself, is this really in alignment? And when you think of that question, asking yourself, if I could play in this world however I wanted to, how would I design my path of cultivating wealth? That would be my advice.
I love that. And also, let's talk a little bit about gratitude, right? However it comes in, and practicing gratitude for however it comes in, no matter how small that amount, even if it's like, hey, let's talk about health for a second. You start to get a little bit sick, and all of a sudden, you open yourself up, you expand, and then guess what? It's totally gone, right? Like that
Yeah.
generosity that the divine source gives us.
Yeah, I love gratitude in every every dimension of my being, purely because I think we kind of live in an age today where the word gratitude has become very simplified, which I love, but also what it really means to be grateful in today's space is to be anchored into the becoming. What I mean by that is that we're constantly in a space of catalysm. We're always evolving, we're always at this evolution peak, and being grateful for the journey we've had so far, but also the unknown that we're about to feather into is so incredibly crucial. And specifically for me, being grateful is more about honoring that, hey, I'm changing as a human being, I'm changing, and allowing that change to be that constant feel of like, I can take a redirection at any point and I'm not losing anything,
Mhm.
cultivating that safety. Here I want to talk a little bit about capacity. When we talk about wealth codes, I specifically go into our body recognizing and having the space enough to actually download those codes.
Yeah.
And when we download that, we're able to actually bring it into our creative expressions, which is where the strategy really comes in. You create a business or you create an income stream. Okay, now what? How do you have the marketing aspect of it? How do you brand yourself? All of that is within the wealth codes. And all of that comes back to the body. In our body, we have a certain capacity. That capacity allows us to only do so much. And
Mhm.
to create that capacity, the narratives we have in our mind really need to process through. And oftentimes it's a very, what's the word? It's a very singular space. It's very binary. It's not non-binary, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And being in the singular space allows us to feel almost like, what is our next liberation? Like, what are we liberating from now? And I think we get stuck in that a lot, like all constant liberation, and we're never at that state of being free, being completely free to flow in. So when we talk about the wealth codes, oftentimes when I work with clients or just have conversations like this, for example, in human design, again, it's for those who are tuning in. I don't know how much you would know about human design, but I'm a splenic projector, and I also have a defined heart center. So a lot of times people ask me, okay, you've got 6 different businesses, like, how do you fucking do it? How do you have the capacity?
Right.
And that's where my biggest answer is, my heart is a big driving point for me. My drive is so strong that I don't really need the energy. So
Mhm.
me, instead of putting in the XYZ work, which is the actual masculine work, my main work in life to actually keep my 6 businesses going is keeping my drive optimum. The
Mhm.
more I keep my drive optimum, the more the financial flow comes in. The more I keep my drive optimum, the more abundant state I'm in. For other people, it's different. Depending on what is their center that's defined or how is their wealth codes designed, maybe they're meant to do more masculine work in specific spaces, very specific spaces. And that's where we kind of talk about, being grateful is really understanding that this is my potential and I'm grateful this is my potential. I don't have to fit in to any other narrative, especially in this traditional marketing way of cultivating wealth. So that would
Right.
be my space.
That's crumbling, right?
Yeah.
Because we are embracing both our divine masculine or both divine feminine. and working in a different, like, we talked about frequency a little bit, but yeah, it is working in a frequency because now we're whole. We're not allowing those parts to be separate from us. So we get to be in that feminine flow, which is our creativity and our ideas. And then we need our masculine energy to get that into action.
Yes, yes, 100%. And I also feel like we're kind of in this space where, as women, right, we are constantly told, and we've been told, like, we need to be softer, we need to be softer, we need to be softer, to the point that now it's like every single person I come across, they're like, well, what is softness? Like, I just want to know, like, what is softness? You know, I have days where I'm flowing with my codes and I'm able to get so much done. And there are days where I know intrinsically that I don't need to. Abundance is still flowing in. And honoring that becomes difficult for a woman because we're constantly told we have to be a certain way. So wealth code specifically for women is very intimate in knowing that this is us and we don't need to really fit into these traditional concepts of this is how you tap into the feminine and this is how you tap into the masculine. For us, it's quite harmonic when we really get to it. So yeah.
I love it. So, so good. So we're almost out of our time. Did you have anything else that you wanted to, any wisdom you wanted to impart on our audience?
Yes, I would say embrace the chaos. I always say this because honestly, we are in an ever evolving space on this planet. And to be in the frequency that allows us to keep honoring our evolution, to then expand and embody that fully, to be that visionary, embrace the chaos in you, embrace that rage, embrace that boldness in you that allows you to step out of your comfort zone, step out of these boundaries that were placed on us by people that are outside of our space, immediate space. So yeah, keep it sacred, be in alignment with the sovereignty.
I love it. I love it. So good. So good. Would you tell the audience about your free gift and where they can find you?
Yes. Okay. So, first of all, this free gift is an amazing resource because every month I come into this little space, which is my playground, and I drop wisdom codes. I'm my channel and my space here is to be that wisdom vessel and keep bringing in information and strategies on how you can align your energy, translate that into a strategy, and then actually activate your financial flow. So, this is the Success Redefined membership. It's completely free. You will see me every month coming in and just dropping amazing mini master classes about all things and more that we talked about here. And in terms of where you can find me, honestly, if you just type Sway GT or Sway to Success, I'll be popping up. Like that's just how it is.
You're so unique.
Thank
I love
you.
it.
So yeah, that's basically it. That's my playground.
I love it so much. Thank you so much for offering this. And thank you so much for being on the Vibrant Woman, Wealthy Woman Within series, Sway, and sharing all of your insights with me and the listeners.
Thank you so much for having me. This was amazing and wonderful.
Thank you. And to our listeners, we'll see you on the next one. So I'm super excited. So Sway, would you tell the audience about your free gift and where they can find you?
Yes. Okay. So this free gift is very, very unique and it's very, very custom to you. If you liked what you heard here and you want to play into this essence, I'm actually offering an Activate Your Wealth Codes channeled audio guide. This is where I dive into human design and really channel what are your wealth codes and how you can embody them in your space to tap into your most vibrant, wealthy era. So that's me. And in terms of where you can find me, if you just type Sway GT or Sway to Success, I will pop up everywhere. I promise you. So yeah.
Well, you have a very unique name. Thank you so much for offering this. It's just truly magical. And I appreciate you being on the Vibrant Woman, Wealthy Woman Within series, Sway, and sharing all of your insights with me and our listeners.
Thank you so much for having me. This has been amazing.
Thank you. My pleasure. And to the listeners, well, I'll see you soon.